Aloha friends, Aaron from Hawaii Music School here today, and I wanted to show you guys something that I've been working on that I teach some of my beginner students just to get them started moving their fingers around. So the first thing I like to teach is the C chord, because that's like pretty much the basis of all ukulele playing, right? The C is the third finger on the third fret of the first string. And we start with that chord, and what we're going to do is we're going to add on our first finger. So that gives us a C suspended, and it takes us back to C, right? So it's giving us a little bit of movement here. So what I teach next is that we're going to now take that third finger and take that one off too. So we go. Right, so that leads us to an F suspended. Now if we can play that F suspended, that's going to give us enough room to play an F, right? So we've got here, go to the F. Now from F, if I take off this finger, I've got an A minor. Okay, so now we've started with C. We went to C suspended. We lifted up that finger, gave it an F suspended, went to F. Now we're A minor. Okay, so if we just take all of those notes right there and leave them on, so we don't take them off this time. So we're going to go here, that there, keep that there, right? So now we've got these fingers all in the same spots that we put them on the first time. What we're going to do now is I'm going to take my middle finger, I'm going to bring it down one string, and I'm going to take my ring finger and move it back one fret. So what we have is a G7 chord. So if we started here, we've got that going on. Sounds a little familiar. We had a song back in the day called Red Red Wine, and it was kind of like this. And so it's a good little groove to get playing and to get people moving on. So now when we look back on it, we see that we've learned a bunch of different chords. We have a C, C6, or a C, C suspended. Right? If we take our fingers off completely, we got a C6. If we got that C suspended and we take off the C note, right? Now we have an F suspended. If we put that finger there, we've got a regular F chord. If I lift up that finger, I've got an A minor. And we know, of course, the G7. Right? So the next thing that we can do to make it even more, I guess, movement friendly is to take that idea and to put it here. So we started with the C, right? So what if I took that C suspended, right, and instead of putting this up here, I just put that finger down one more, right? So now I've got a G7 suspended, and that brings me to the G7. That's how we got that Red Red Wine song, right? But if we go back to that F chord, that same note, when I put it here, I've got a D minor. Okay, so now I've got my C, C suspended. Right, my F, I can leave this here, and I can put my pinky there and put that there. I can just hold that there and just drop that finger like this. Right, now I've got a D minor 7. If I lift that up, I got a D minor. If I bring it back, I got a G9, G7. Right, so we've got all these different ways that we can play all these chords, which are right here in the front of the fretboard. And so I teach that to beginners to get them just moving their fingers around. But a lot of times, if we just look at our finger placement, we can see that these little movements will give us really interesting little sounds that go back and forth, right? So I can make just this an exercise, or I can turn around and do the other one. I can go to the F suspended and do an exercise off of there. I can start with F and do an exercise off of there. Right? There are so many different combinations that you can do with that. And the main point is to just get your fingers moving. And so what I'm doing with my right hand is just a basic down, up, down strum. So I'm just going just like that. And so I can move my fingers around here anyway. Now the other thing I encourage them to do is to try to see if you can move your fingers all over the fretboard while keeping that one finger in that one place. So if we start with that C suspended, right? Let's move that up. Let's move that up. Now we go up here. Right, let's move that up. Right, so we've got all these different things, and we can do that with any one of them. If my finger's here. And so, what are the names of those chords? Who cares? Just play it. Just get your fingers going. Get your fingers moving. Be able to make any movement that you can within those first 3 frets. And then expand to 5. Then go to 7. And try to see how much stretching you can do. Another thing I like to do is teach beginner exercises too. So, if we start with this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, we just go down, and then we come back up. Right, then we can do it backwards, and go backwards going down. And then we can do the thing I like to do called the Charlie Brown. And I call it the Charlie Brown because Charlie Brown's t-shirt has those designs like that. What I like to do is I take my first finger and I put it on the string that normally would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my other fingers are going to be on the string below it. So what I do is I'll play the first one here, then I'll play the second one here on the string below it. Then I come back up to that first string and I'll play that one. Then I come back for my pinky, I'll do on the string below it, right? And so because I do this, it's like crooked, like Charlie Brown's t-shirt, right? And so I'll go this way first. Now I'll start on the string below it, and I'll go above it. So there's my Charlie Brown exercise. It looks like this. Go to the next strings and do the same thing. Right? And then when we go there, we go backwards, right? There was a guy, a great guitar teacher. His name is Pepper Brown, and he's the teacher of Buckethead. I don't know if you guys know who Buckethead is, but Buckethead is an insane electric guitar player. And his teacher, Pepper Brown, makes everybody do this exercise, which people hate, but I teach my students how to do this because it gets your hand nice and loose so that you can play all these things, right? So you take 4 fingers, 1 on each fret, right? We'll start on the top string. Now we've got 2 pairs. My first pair of fingers are these 2 guys, right? And then the other pair are these 2 guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first pair, these 2, and I'm going to bring them down a string. Now keep in mind your pairs move together, right? And then when they're moving, the other fingers don't move. So we're going to move these down. These 2 are now going to leapfrog over them, right? And then we're going to go down with these 2 and leapfrog over them. They all meet up at the bottom, and we work our way back up. So it looks like this, okay? So that one right there, I don't know what Pepper calls it, but when I teach this one, I call this one the mandible claw, because I don't know if you guys are WWF fans, but there was this wrestler named Mick Foley who he called himself Mankind and grabbed people by the jaw like this, and so because it's these 2 fingers and it's these 2 fingers, right, I call it the mandible claw, right? The next one is Live Long and Prosper, right, Mr. Spock. So I've got these 2 fingers and these 2 fingers, right? So I'll take these 2 fingers first and I'll bring them down. I'll have these 2 leapfrog over them. Then I'll bring these guys and leapfrog over that. I get to the bottom and I work my way back to the top. And so it looks like this, right? Just like that. So that's the Vulcan Spock, right? Now the last one, I didn't name it. I had a student of mine name it for me. He calls it the MFer. I'll let you figure out why. But it is these 2 fingers and these 2 fingers. Now, You won't know why it's called the MFer until you try to play it. What happens is these two fingers right here are going to go down, then these two that are right there, this is a little bit more difficult than the other ones, right? So we bring these down, those go over it, they all get up to the bottom, and then they work their way back up, okay? So that one right there is going to give you fits. I have students that'll look at that, and they'll be like, man, I'm looking right at it, and it's just not moving. And you start to figure out which fingers don't want to listen to you and which fingers do, okay? And the last thing I'm going to show you is the Steve Vai thing that I learned from, I think he had like this 10-hour guitar workout or 10-week guitar workout or something. It was in Guitar Magazine a long time ago when I was a kid, and I printed out the whole thing. And the one exercise that really got me was this one right here. What he did was he put 1, 2, 3, 4, right? These 4 fingers going down, 1 string each. And you start off in this position. What you're going to do is you got those fingers there. Now the 2 fingers in the middle, you're going to switch position, just like that, yeah? So they trade, right? Everything else doesn't move. Remember that rule. So we're here. We're going to switch those 2. Now I'm going to switch my 2 outside fingers, right? And then the 2 inside get switched again. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the first position, but now we're up 1 fret. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, up a fret, 2, 3, 4, up a fret, and just work your way up the neck. Okay, so once you can do that, and you can do, you know, all these exercises like this and the Charlie Brown, that kind of stuff, you're going to have fun moving your fingers around the ukulele. Those chords in the beginning, don't worry about what they sound like, okay? All of these things, when you try to do it, it's going to sound like crap if you try to strum it. Because it's not about the way it sounds, it's about getting your fingers moving. Once we start figuring out how to get our fingers moving, then we can delve into all the different chords and the sounds that they make and how to make something a lot cooler than just a regular, right? But till next time, remember, if you got any questions, you can write me at hmsukelessons@gmail.com. Aloha.